Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Voices of the Vic podcast with myself, Joe Thomas. And tonight we're here to discuss the 1-1 draw yesterday with Coventry City. Tonight I'm joined by Caity Kirkley and Cam Smart. First of all, sorry, I'm completely off sync because we were literally like messing around before we came in. So apologies, everybody. First of all, we'll see how everybody's doing. Caity, obviously saw you yesterday briefly at half time and before the game. How are you doing, and did you enjoy yesterday?
Yeah, no, I'm all good. Yesterday was really good. Nice to see you. Also, I saw Ben and Isla, which was really cute. They were running off somewhere, but it was really nice to see both of them. Yeah, it was a good game, even though I thought in general the game was quite end to end, so it was entertaining to watch, which was good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And yeah, like you say, it was really lovely to see Ben and Isla before I bumped into them. I popped down to the bunker to see them and then walked up to where I went into the rookery. But it was lovely to see Isla looking so happy with her little Harry the Hornet.
Yeah, she was so cute.
Yeah, she was really sweet, and it was lovely for Ben. And it's I'll tell you, it's actually been really nice looking at all the comments that have been posted on Twitter, and it was nice of Luther to post a nice little message as well. And it's gone down very well, his little video, which was really sweet. Many more games hopefully for Isla. Cam, how are you doing, mate? I know you had a bit of a palaver yesterday getting from Wembley to Watford, but you just about made it in time, didn't you?
Yeah, I am good. Despite you being on the wind up in the lobby before this, I am good. Yesterday, bit of a nightmare. My dad was driving down to my accommodation to drop off all my stuff. Basically, long story short, loads and loads of traffic. Didn't end up leaving Wembley until 2:25. Somehow I managed to get there for kickoff, but my poor dad missed the first. Lucky actually missed the first 5 minutes. I'm well actually.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. And just before we kind of get fully into things, Glenn, who we had on the review pod in the week, has put a few comments in. First, just going to kind of briefly go through them. Cam, if you can, because for some reason I can't click on them. First one, story of our season yesterday. Don't take our chances, and the opposition score with one of the few chances they have. Secondly, good game of football as usual versus Watford. Happy with the point and look to kick on from it. You'll give Norwich a good game and be surprised if you don't get a result against them. And lastly, think a draw was a fair result, but wish Coventry had taken one of the chances late on to nick it. Watford will be a top half side at least this season. I think that's probably before kind of we get into talking about the Watford side of things, that was probably a fair assessment. Yesterday, a draw was definitely, I think, a fair result in the end. If you look at the statistics from the game yesterday, it ended very even. I was quite shocked because I actually thought Coventry were a little bit more on top. I didn't really kind of think Watford were as on top as they were in that second half, but it turns out they were. We had pretty much the same shots on goal, on target, possession, corners. It was very very even in the end. So yeah, obviously, as we said before in the review, we don't usually tend to do well against Coventry, do we, Cam? And we said that we would be, I think we touched on it before the end of the pod on, was it Wednesday or Thursday? I can't even remember now. We said that we'd take a draw. Are you pleased with the point yesterday in the end?
I am, yeah. Coventry are starting to get on my nerves, to be honest. I quite like them as a club, but they're becoming to us sort of what we are to Norwich, and I don't like that. I don't like when we just can't beat a team. I don't want to be dreading every time we play Coventry because they're just going to turn us over. So, more than happy with a point. I have no doubt that they're going to be in the top 6 at the end of the season. It's sort of, after we lost the last game, it sort of becomes about not losing the next game for me. Yeah, I'm glad we did that, especially after going 1-0 down again. So more than happy with a point, yeah.
Yeah. And Katie, it's something we kind of touched on briefly in the review. Obviously, it was a concern that Watford have conceded early in the last 2 games prior to this. It was important that we got a good start, but yet again, within the first, I think it was like 3.5 minutes, wasn't it? We conceded early again, and there's 3 games in a row now. It's becoming quite a concern that we just don't seem to start well.
Yeah, it is really poor, and I hope it's something that Cleverley is sort of looking to address, because it almost feels like we're like not switched on for the first couple minutes. And obviously, yes, the other teams are going to come and they're going to start strong, but we should be starting just as strong. And I think if you're going to allow them to sort of have the first couple minutes of attacking, you need to then be really switched on for the defense. I mean, I was watching the highlights last night after the game, and it's the corner that happens. No one is defending. Everyone's sort of just watching the ball. I think it's a real shame. And then you're just playing catch up for the rest of the game. And with a team like Coventry, I mean, we were all there. We all saw they probably could have had about 4-0. It could have been about 4-0 before half time. Had some good chances that they didn't really bury. But you really shouldn't be conceding that early on, and especially as much as we have in the last couple of games. It's about sort of being really switched on from the get-go, not allowing that to happen, because no one wants to play catch-up. And if you're playing against a decent side, they're not going to let you. They're just going to hold that, and, they have the upper hand.
Yeah, I agree. And it was really frustrating. It was really like schoolboy from Watford, I thought. And, yeah, I mean, it was a corner from Redoni, I think it was, who put the ball in the box. And I'll be honest, Ellis Sims didn't really need to do much, did he, to get ahead on it, Cam? It was really weak defending, and it was really frustrating. It's another goal as well this season where Daniel Batman's just kind of like, he just watched it go behind him, and then it hit the post and went in the back of the net. What do you make of us from... I'll say, what do you make of us from set pieces this season so far? Because I thought it was really poor from us yesterday. Like, usually we've been better, but to concede a goal that early from a corner, it was really frustrating, I thought.
Yeah, I think we've looked better sort of in the sense that we're more inventive on attacking set pieces. But defensive set pieces, we just can't seem to deal with ever. I mean, it's not just a problem this season. It's always been a problem. We are all over the place defending corners, and it is that zonal marking. If you're going to commit to that approach, you need all your players to, fully be in tune with it. You need them all to be experienced at zonal marking, and you need everyone to know where they need to be. Now, that's not what it looked like to me. It didn't look like those players sort of knew, oh yeah, we need to go and defend this space, and this is where we should attack the ball, and all of that. But it's just really disappointing, isn't it? I mean, for all these sort of improvement on attacking set pieces, it's just bizarre to me that this hasn't been addressed. And I don't want to sound like one of these like, let's go back to old school football, but it really does seem like you fix it if you just go to man marking, and then every individuals can be held accountable. Then if everyone's sort of paying attention and marking their man, then we deal with it, and there's no problem there. But I'm sure there's some like tactical reason to it that I'm not seeing, but I don't understand why you persist with zonal marking. I just don't get it. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think we actually have a set piece coach at the moment. Obviously, we had Gianni Vio come in last season, but I'm informed that he's gone to guess where, Udinese, while we haven't really replaced him. So, it'd be really interesting to see if we do bring someone in that department, because early signs are we really need to fix up defending set pieces.
Yeah, and do you, Cam, just on the back of that, do you think that with Ogbonna still to come in, obviously, based on what I've seen so far this season, I fully expect Serialta and Matty Pollock to keep their places, so Porteous probably won't keep his place. Do you think having someone like Ogbonna at the back and his experience to try and improve things?
Yeah, I mean, do you remember the sort of West Ham side he was in and out of a couple of years ago, were head and shoulders, quite literally, above everyone else when it came to goals scored from corners and goals conceded from corners? They were fantastic at both ends. I think they had nearly 20 goals from corners come the end of the Premier League season, which is ridiculous. So he certainly brings some experience in that scenario. I just don't think it's something that's going to be solved by one player. I do think Serialta and Porteous can be a bit flat-footed, but it's not just them. There's 11 players, including the goalkeeper, in that box. They all need to be switched on, and it is something that Tom needs to take a look at, sort of as a collective.
Yeah. And Katie, Philip Crouch has put a comment in just now there saying when Pollock's been playing so well on the right, why put him on the left and bring in Porteous? That's probably, I think, maybe potentially a bit of a downfall for us this season, because those three have actually, apart from Serialta that's pretty much stayed in the middle, that has been a case where they've been switched around quite a bit so far this season. So do you think that's probably another reason as to why we've been so sloppy at the back, maybe early, because changing things around so much, it's easy. Sometimes players do get a bit complacent and forget where they're meant to be.
Yeah, I think it's hard, because I don't think that Tom wouldn't put them in that position if he didn't think that they could handle it. And if you are playing something that isn't necessarily your strongest position, it doesn't mean that you should be conceding goals early on. I think, like Cam said, especially when you're defending a corner, because in other ways, when we've been defending, even in the whole Coventry game, I thought that every time they were running at us, we did well. So many times, all three of them they were dying for that badge. That Serialta challenge where he literally went head first to the ball just to stop them from having a shot. I was like, you would die for this. And I think literally just echoing really what Cam said, if it's a corner where you've got 11 players in the box, you all have a responsibility to defend that. It's not just the defenders where you can put it on. I think obviously it's just about being sloppy early on, because as soon as that happened, we did tighten up. I mean, Coventry were on a bit of a they sort of went and had a lot of chances, but you just have this deflating thing when you concede that early. And I would hope that it's not because they're playing in different roles, and we should be able to switch up and have people come in, because I think Porteous coming in was the right decision. I was happy that he came into the team. So it's just kind of how they adapt to those first couple minutes, and it's maybe them sussing out how Coventry are gonna attack the game, but you shouldn't be conceding goals for it.
No, I agree.
Sorry, just a quick thing on Pollock on the left. I think it was possibly done maybe because Yasser Larouci had a bit of a nightmare out at left wing back against Sheffield United, and they maybe anticipated the same here. So possible that they just wanted to put our best defender over on that left side where we'll be more vulnerable. But what I do not like about Pollock being on the left is obviously his passing ability. I feel like it's much more limited when you put him on his weaker foot. And I think it is something we miss, just that ball forward, his ability to sort of mix it up, play into midfield or playing behind. And that link up that he sometimes has with Ryan Andrews as well. I think that was really missing. So, yeah, I'm hoping we see Pollock back on the right next weekend. But it just sort of highlights, we do need that left centre back, don't we? And it's something we talked about all summer. Are we going to get a left centre back? We got Tikvich and Almeida, but neither of those are deemed ready at the moment. So it just, it feels like that was sort of a big gaping hole in our transfer business, and it might already be coming back to bite us.
Yeah, I agree. And just a couple of comments, not ignoring you, Mike. I saw your comments coming earlier. I think we were definitely fortunate to keep the score at 1-0 going in the first half. And Glenn's obviously put another comment here as well. I think if you added Ellis Sims had you right, or Thomas Asante, it could be the missing piece of the puzzle for us. Yeah, I'd probably take any one of those, to be honest with you. I think they'd fit right into our team, and with people like Rocco Vata and Georgie Chavakatsi and that, I think we'd get a lot of joy out of having one of them in our team. But we can keep on wishing but yeah, moving on to obviously the starting lineup yesterday. There was only one change from the previous starting 11 at Sheffield United, and that was Ryan Porteous coming in for James Morris. Katie, were you happy with the change to the lineup yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I was happy to see him come in because, Joe, me and you were speaking to Andrew, and we were talking about do we think Porteous is going to be like annoyed that he's not starting? And he was saying, I think it's not anything personal; it's just a rotation thing. And I was happy to see him come back in, and I think he did okay. I think there wasn't anything massively standing out to me that he did wrong, but that's just how it is. And I think there's a rotation that's happening along the back, that it might just be that we don't really who's going to be that solid defense at the moment. And with people coming in like Ogbonna, it's just about having those people around. And I think it was the right decision to bring him in, because I think in the Sheffield game, Morris looked a bit shaky and a bit inexperienced, so sometimes you just need Porteous to twat it into Rosette sometimes. So I think he did well, and I was happy to see him come back.
Yeah, there were a few times I thought he looked a little bit nervous. He looked a little bit shaky, and he was. I can't even remember. He did get booked, didn't he? In the first half, I think, or was it the second half? He
did get booked.
Yeah, like Serialty, you just kind of think he's a yellow card or even a red card sometimes waiting to happen, isn't he? So I wasn't shocked when the card.
He did get booked.
Yeah, with the obviously the rest of the starting 11, we kind of expected. Cam, any disappointment from you yesterday from the starting 11? Was there any one you was looking forward to seeing?
Well, yeah, big disappointment actually. I don't know why we have to wait so long for our players to be ready to start once we sign them. I mean, Daniel Jebison has had a full pre-season with Bournemouth. He's been playing matches for Bournemouth, and yet it takes him over 3 weeks to be available for us. I just can't understand that, especially when you look at Bio. I mean, we don't need to talk about Bio anymore, but when that's your alternative, surely you risk putting in a Daniel Jebison that is considerably better than Bio, can do everything better than him, literally everything, and you don't want to put him in because maybe he's not in tune with the system yet. I don't understand it personally. I'd take that risk any day of the week, and I don't know why every other club can seem to throw their players in immediately, and we can't. But yeah, I was also, I mean, you know by now my thoughts on Edo Kayembe, and I was disappointed to see that he got picked again. He seems to be untouchable at the moment, and I really can't get my head around it, to be honest with you. But yeah, he started. I think maybe if Quadro Bar was fit, there'd be a decision to make there. But yeah, I was a little bit disappointed to see those two things.
Yeah, with Bar, as I said yesterday, I saw him briefly after the game yesterday, and he mentioned that there was a concern on his hamstring. So it's good that the club took the precaution and just rested him. And yeah, hopefully we'll see him next week back in the squad at Norwich, and hopefully push him for a start as well, because I think we need to see someone like that in the side, don't we? moving on to the rest of the team, Katie. Daniel Batman yesterday. Obviously, we were disappointed with the goal that he kind of let in and things. Obviously, there was, as I said to Cam before we came on, a very clever bit of play from him yesterday, going down in the first half when Coventry were on top and kind of just completely slowed them down, gave the players an opportunity to go over and get a drink and speak to Tom and come back on the pitch. And obviously things seemed to change from them. So that was very clever from him yesterday. How did you make of the rest of his performance? He made some quite important saves, one in the first half with his legs, an important save that he tipped round the post for a corner in the second half as well.
Yeah, I mean, that tactical drinks break, I was like, this is very woke, having this tactical drinks break from Dan Backman. But it did help. It did mean that everyone could just go over and speak to Tom, which I thought was, it was needed. I thought he did well. I mean, if you take away the goal, I honestly think that he did pretty good. He kept us in there quite a few times. It could have been a lot more. I mean, and, he did make some good saves. I think, that goal at the beginning, I was really annoyed because it did look like he just watched the ball and didn't even try to move. But obviously, someone should have been there anyway. And he just, But I thought he did well. Saved some good goals, and so I thought it was good.
Yeah. The fullback, obviously we've kind of touched on the defence, so I won't speak too much more about them. Cam, the wing backs yesterday, I personally thought that Larouci and Andrews both struggled. I thought that Andrews looked weak in every area yesterday, or not as strong as he has done in other games this season. I thought Larouci looked really good going forward, but I thought he was atrocious when it came to defending. What were your thoughts on those two performances?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to disclaim anything by saying that they both play quite a tough role, I feel. I don't think either of them get a lot of help from the midfield. And obviously, as they're the only wide men in the team, it can be a little bit lonely out there. And I thought that really showed against Sheffield United, where Larouci was doubled up on every time, and sometimes through weak defending and sometimes through no fault of his own, he was beaten more or less every time. And that was the same yesterday. He had a torrid time defensively. I thought he was a good outlet going forwards, and I think he showed the value of having a left footer out there. Just, some of his link-up play, some of his, his ability to sort of get the ball quickly onto his left and get a ball in is an asset for us. And it has already got us 1 or 2 goals, I believe, and I think it will get us many more. But really, really needs to sort out his defensive contribution. I think Tom needs to maybe, if he is going to play Larouci, come up with a plan to help him out a bit more. Maybe get, a third midfielder in there to cover him. But yeah, really, probably gave Coventry all of their joy in that first half, and wasn't too surprised to see him come off. As for Andrews, I thought he had yet another nothing game, really. I mean, he has a lot of games where I come to full time and think, Ryan Andrews did nothing today. He didn't do anything going forwards. Didn't really notice him defensively. And I won't say it's like carrying a passenger, but you sort of get what I mean, where he's not really contributing the way you'd expect him to. And I just want him to use that pace more, drive at his man, rather than just passing it sideways every time he gets it or backwards. He's just way too conservative for my liking. And he was caught half asleep every time. Every time Coventry were on the attack. I mean, there were a number of times where they had a man free in the box, and I'm thinking, how on earth has he got space there? And then you look at a replay, and Ryan Andrews has let him run past him. So, yeah, really disappointing again from him. And another one I'm not surprised was subbed, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start the next game, to be honest, because we really, really need to see more from him.
Yeah, I agree. I I mean, it was after 6 minutes of Ebesele coming on yesterday, but I made a bit of a silly comment. I mean, he made that really, really good defensive challenge not long after coming on yesterday. Coventry were driving forward and he managed to kind of like chop his way through. I can't remember who it was that was going forward. He managed to win the ball back. It got like a standing ovation sort of from the crowd, and we kind of went forward on the attack again. And I mean, just from stuff I've seen of him, I remember him briefly at Derby. He looked good, and he, Udinese have said nothing but good things about him. So I think, Jess, what you said there, I actually made this comment yesterday. I actually agree. I think Ebesele will play a bit more than Andrews this season. I think there'll be quite a bit of a rotation because of the way Tom likes to play her, but I think Ebesele will play a lot more games, I think, than Andrews over the course of the season. Going into the front sort of three, the the two number 10s. Again, like you said, Cam, and this question for Katie, Kayembe kind of, again, for me yesterday, I thought, take nothing away from the first 3 games. I know he scored 3 goals so far this season. In fairness, I actually thought at Millwall he didn't really do a lot. I thought he did better in the Stoke game. At home, obviously, he got the 2 goals there. But in the other games, I actually think he has looked a little bit lost in that position. Again, was the same yesterday for me. What did you think of his performance overall yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Kayembe is I found myself at the start of the season being quite blinded by him scoring the goals, and I was very much like, no, he's scored goals, he should start, like he's earned that place. But I think the more we see from him now when he's not been scoring, it shows more that the role that he's playing in the team adds nothing. It's kind of like what Cam was saying about Andrews. He goes missing. There's no role that he plays. Like, if you think about the midfield and you think about, okay, I thought Tom Dele again also was a bit quiet. Them two, aren't standouts from that team. Someone like Sissoko, every time he's on the pitch, he's on the pitch. He's putting challenges in. He's driving forward. He's, tracking back. He is constantly doing something that makes him stand out. The other two, I mean, it's harsh on Dele because I think, he's not as bad as someone like Kayembe, but Kayembe, it just doesn't suit him. Like, he does not add anything to this side. And I think there's more potential in him with maybe a different role somewhere. But it's almost like one person just being there and just adding absolutely nothing. You might as well just play with like one less player, because he does not. I don't feel like, for me, when I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, he's doing really well. He's standing out to me every time he plays. I'm like, did he even play? Because I don't even remember him doing anything. So it's really tough. But I think you either change it up or you just don't play him because he's adding nothing.
Yeah,
I'd like to interject on Kayembe as well, because that I'm not his biggest fan, and I'd just like to say to anyone who sort of is still thinking, what are you talking about? Kayembe scored 3 goals, he's great there, because there are loads of people who want Kayembe in the team, and they think I'm crazy. But I'd just say, watch Chakvetadze. When he receives the ball, it's immediately, turn, run, and then, try and play a pass to someone else. With Kayembe, it's either bounce the ball back to whoever gave it to you, or it's let me take 5, 6, 7 touches, and then the attack's gone. And then off the ball, look at them both. Chakvetadze buzzes around. I think he does some good defensive work. But there's sort of less defensive onus on him. Whereas Kayembe, he's sort of tasked with, filling in a midfield 3 off the ball. And he just, every single time, lets his man run past him. He doesn't really seem to cover much ground. He's not got pace to him. And physically, for a guy of his frame, I don't really think he does anything. So I'm just really wondering, like, how long is it before Tom Cleverley sees that KMB is not really contributing in that role, and we've got to look at someone else soon, surely.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and Peter, obviously, everyone's got an opinion, and obviously, we'll mention totally disagree about KMB. A lot of fans do love KMB, and it's not that I think it's really important to say that it's not that we don't like KMB. It's just, I pointed this out, I think, in the review podcast, maybe last week, Cam, if you remember, when we were talking about the lineup for this week, and I said, as you said, when Chadwick Catsey gets the ball, he looks to drive forward. You take the Stoke goal, for example, where he gave the ball to KMB and KMB scored the third goal. He picked that ball up. He looked up forward. He looked where he wanted to go, and he looked where he wanted to put the ball, and it was forward. Whereas KMB gets the ball so many times, and as you said, the attack will stop because he takes one too many touches. He looks and then he goes sideways. He looks and then he goes backwards. And this is the difference. Is like Rocco Vata. He came on yesterday, and again, it was another number 10 where he looked to go forward every time he got the ball. All right, as we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, is that I think it was a difficult situation for him yesterday when he came on. But you can see what those two people want to do is in that number 10 role. They just want to look to create things and go forward. Whereas I think, as you just said a minute ago about Larouci having a bit of more help in midfield, could KMB be that person that drops back into midfield and offers that help? I don't believe he doesn't deserve to be in the team because, like you say, he has contributed to an extent, but I don't think he contributes, as you said, in that number 10 position.
I just think the role for him is his best football for us was under Val in that midfield three. And I think that's the perfect role for him, just a third midfielder where there's two other people there to do all the work for him. But we're not playing that right now.
Yeah, and also, like, I wouldn't say change the system just for him. Like, the system's clearly working. You're not going to switch everything up just so he can have a role in the squad. You kind of fit or you don't, like...
And another thing to go off, that Plymouth game, he had to come on quite early in defensive midfield because Loser got injured. And it didn't take long for Tom Cleverley to realise, hang on, this isn't working. We're getting completely overrun. And KMB just can't play in that midfield too. And then he changed it to a 4-3-3 and we battered them. I'd maybe suggest some time out of the team for KMB because I don't see where he fits at all at the moment. Also, another thing, every time Chatwatauti carries the ball all the way up the pitch on the counter, there's absolutely no one up there with him, is there? And the reason for that is because you've got Bio and KMB who are as slow as it gets, and they just cannot keep up with him. So, yeah, maybe just get a bit of pace in there and we'll look so much more threatening on the counter.
Yeah. And it's just worth mentioning as well, it's my bad, I forgot about the midfield too. Tom Dele yesterday, I know he scored. And as I mentioned before we came on, Cam, if Jefferson had been just a little bit quicker, he was just a toe away from putting it in himself. I actually thought Tom Dele didn't look as good as what he has done in previous games. He didn't look as comfortable on the ball in that midfield. And I don't know if that was because I actually was really impressed with Coventry yesterday in terms of their passing ability and the way they were knocking the ball around. Do you think it was maybe because Coventry maybe intimidated him a little bit and he just felt a little bit worried about things yesterday more?
Yeah, look, I don't think... Well, first of all, the best of Tom Dele is when he's sort of got space to drive into and he can sort of turn out of pressure and just run with the ball. That's the best you're going to see of him. I don't think Coventry gave us any space to do that, and for that reason, we didn't really see the best of Tom Dele. Something I have been wanting more of from him is that sort of getting forward and getting in the box. He's definitely got more goals in him. I wasn't thinking, tap-ins like that, but I was thinking he can shoot from long distance. and he can get some goals. So yeah, nice to see him sort of get off the mark. But yeah, that midfield too, it's a bit of a problem area for me right now. I think Tom Dele not particularly involved. And Sissoko was a little bit inconsistent throughout yesterday. He had great moments, he had bad moments. And I think that's a bit of a theme with him at the moment. So yeah, it'd be nice to see what Pierre Duomo could do, but also we definitely should have signed a more defensive-minded midfielder like we were trying to with Cipriano from Peterborough. We should have really prioritised that a bit more because, I mean, I said it weeks before deadline that we were desperate for a midfielder. So yeah, maybe perhaps another hole in the transfer window coming back to bite us a little bit.
Yeah, when obviously I know when we were on the podcast, Andrew couldn't say who that person was that we went for late in the window, but obviously it was rumoured that it was him at Peterborough that we were going for. It was a bit of a strange one, that, because anyone who's a proper football fan will understand that Peterborough, you know, when they get good players, you see them move on. They'll either reject bids and not let the player go, and they'll keep them, or they'll do what they can to get as much money out of a club for their good players. And obviously, as we saw with Sheffield United early in the window, with Burrows going there, you know, Sheffield United looked to get the business done early and wanted to get him in and knew it was an early target. And to go in the 11th hour looking for a player like that at Peterborough, I thought that was a bit naive from Watford, because there was no way Peterborough were just going to go, yeah, all right, then you can have him late, because Peterborough like to get people in as replacements, so they were never going to get someone in that late. So yeah, it's maybe one to watch later on potentially if Watford have, you know, I did read an article the other day from Nani saying that Watford were looking to identify targets from January in the summer. Whether Watford go in and say, like, look, maybe we want to get him, and Peterborough kind of look for a replacement now for that to happen. But
didn't we try and sign him as well before?
Yeah. Again, deadline day.
It's like, why are you going on deadline day for their best player?
They're tough negotiators, Peterborough. Like, you're not going to get anything out of them on deadline day.
No, it's a stupid one. Yeah, I'm with you, Cam, as well. On we say Duame, you know, it's it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, we've heard that he's impressed in training. So if Tom and Musa look like they're struggling, whether he will come in and break up that midfield pairing. It would maybe be good to rotate in what games. I don't know, because obviously we've got some important games coming up, haven't we, with Norwich? I probably wouldn't do it at Norwich, but it'd be interesting to see maybe games like Preston and that in midweek coming up, and seeing whether it changes things there. But lastly, in the lineup, we'll just kind of touch on Georgie yesterday, Katie. In fact, I'll ask both of you this question, actually, because there was a lot of divided opinion yesterday on social media, and I was seeing a lot being posted about Georgie Chadvikatsi's performance yesterday. First of all, Katie, what did you think? We kind of, Cam and I spoke before we came on, and it was said that maybe he didn't do the best in the first 30 minutes yesterday. He did get dispossessed quite a lot, but he did grow into the game, and obviously he got the assist for the goal as well. How did you think he did overall yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we can't be too harsh, because he is. I think we hold him at a very high expectation because of what we see him do and stuff. So almost like when he has a bit of a quieter game, we're like, oh my god, he's at a high standard for us. And I think what Cam said earlier, you cannot fault that he is always looking to attack everything. Like, he's always driving forward, whether that's by himself, whether that's feeding other people. He's always doing it. And sometimes, like we said earlier, he's ran the length of the pitch, and then he gets there and there's no one there, and you're like, oh, he doesn't know what to do, and he's got 3 defenders around him. It's kind of like, of course he's going to get dispossessed. I think they defended him really well yesterday and made it really hard for him. So for me, I was disappointed because I felt like he lost the ball a lot, and just he was trying to do too much sometimes, and I was like, just like don't do that, because it was really frustrating. But again, I'm not going to be like, oh, he was so bad, because he wasn't bad. I think it was just frustrating watching him lose the ball as often as he did. But then, you know, I was talking about this on Twitter, and he had no help. He had no support. No one was helping him. There was no one around him to like, so he could pass the ball, you know. And even before Jebson came on, again, Bale was just not really like in a position where you can really pass and just get the ball into the box. So I think it was one of his not great games, but again, I'm not going to be like he was rubbish, because he wasn't.
Yeah, I agree. And like you say, I think Coventry just identified that it was going to be a threat, didn't they, Cam? And it just wanted to make it as difficult as possible for him yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I thought he was fantastic yesterday. First half he lost the ball a little bit, but he was our only player really trying anything. He's going to lose the ball a little bit as a creative player. That's what happens. Coventry did sort of sometimes double, even triple up on him, but he even managed to worm his way out of that sometimes. So I'm okay with Georgie losing the ball a little bit, as long as he's, you know, going to keep being our best player and sometimes carrying us through moments. So I thought he was fantastic. Second half, really, really bright from him. Great cross for the goal as well on his weaker foot, and he actually put in a few good left-footed crosses as well. Only problem for me is that final ball has got to improve sometimes when we're in sort of the 3v3 counter situations. He does like to underhit the pass occasionally. So yeah, hopefully that's something we'll see improve over the coming weeks. But yeah, really, really impressed with him yesterday.
Yeah, it was a bit of a concern. Obviously, the injury. I'll be honest, I completely kind of missed him going down, and then looked up, and he was just laying there on the pitch. I actually thought he was going to run for the ball, and he got his studs caught in the floor, and I was concerned it was an ACL. But obviously, it turned out it was just a back spasm. It was good to see him on his feet outside after, and chatting and laughing and joking with his I think family and friends, and then obviously doing pictures with fans as well. He said, I asked him how his back was and how he was, and he said, yeah, he was fine, and he was just a little bit sore. So, and saw him getting in a cab going away, and he sort of bent quite okay to get in the cab. So hopefully it's just is something that won't keep him out too long, and we will see him in the side next week. Lastly, in the starting 11, Cam, Bio. Obviously, he had a few chances yesterday. I wouldn't say any of them were clear cut, so I don't really not really hammer him for missing any gilt edge chances, but he's got to be doing better. There was just take the chances away, and his performance off the ball. You know, last season, I was always saying that when it came to the press, he was great. When we were going forward, he was putting pressure on people. But it's not just yesterday, it's all season. He's just jogging around the pitch like there's just nothing there. Like, I don't understand the point of him, if I'm being honest.
No, I mean, I'm not going to say there's a lack of effort from him. I think our press is just a little bit more conservative this season. We aren't going to rush onto the goalkeeper, and I guess that's because Tom doesn't want the space to open up. He doesn't want teams to play through us. He wants us to be sort of rigid and hard to play against, and hard to break down. So I think Bio works hard enough, and I'll give him credit for that, but that's all I'll be giving him credit for, because I just don't know why this guy's still playing for us. I'm not going to mention Rajvic because he's 10 times worse, but like, why? I said it earlier, why can't Jebson play already? And if not, why can't we give Doumbia a go? Because from the very little we've seen of Doumbia, he's miles better than Bio. He can touch a football. He can, he can control the ball. He can actually kick it. Like, that's the bare minimum you want in a footballer. someone who can kick the ball properly. And I just don't know. I'm going to say now, Bio is probably the worst player who has ever been signed for £5 million. And it's a good thing that Udinese have given us allegedly triple that for him, because otherwise he'd go down as one of our worst signings ever, to be honest. I don't think there's another team in the EFL that would even sign Bio. Even National League teams, I don't think they'd have much use for him. He just gets bullied. He can't do English football. And I cannot wait to see the back of him. So, yeah, hopefully Jebuson's in for Norwich.
Yeah, I will just touch on Jebuson while we're talking about Bio. I actually was quite impressed with him yesterday when he came on. I thought he looked pretty good, and it's quite a funny comment from me in there that's just coming there, sitting on the fence, tell us what you think of Bio. Yeah. Brilliant. And just actually touching on Matt's comment, I did see that coming as well. Chavakatsi played well, but when he was being doubled up on a team like Coventry, he needed support when no one's there to help him, or no one come near him to give him the option to create anything. That's fair assessment. I thought Jebuson did well when he came on yesterday. He was unlucky not to score. I thought he got in the right areas. Obviously, he was unlucky not to get on the end of the goal that we actually scored. There was another ball that was put in the box for him yesterday, and he nearly got on the end of it. Didn't quite connect with it. But yeah, I was quite happy with everything he did. But yesterday, yet again, social media. I need to probably stay off social media a little bit actually after games, because it's really winding me up how our fans are. We saw 20 minutes of him against Sheffield United, and it wasn't the right. I mean, Tom admitted after the game he made the substitutions to try and change the game. It wasn't quite there at Sheffield United, so you can't really judge him because he didn't really get much of the ball. Yesterday, he came on for half an hour. I thought he did well, but, Watford fans seem to have seen 50 minutes of him and have made their decision and said that he's shocking. And, for me, I mean, there's more colourful words that I saw yesterday, but I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. And Katie, I mean, what did you think of him when he came on yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy to judge him after the games that he's played, and at the moment he is sort of being used as an impact sub because that's what he's coming on for, even though he shouldn't be. So people are sort of expecting him to come on and make a huge difference. But I think, I mean, he's miles better than Bayo anyway. Like, I was saying this to you, Joe, yesterday when I was like, if you're Jebuson, you would want to come and you would want to. And Tom raved about how fit he was and how, like, he was in the best form, like, really good. You would expect that saying that in an interview says he's coming in to start as number one now, like right now. That's what you would expect. I don't know how Cleverley can look at this team and think, yeah, Leo, you're going to start now, and Jebuson, you're coming on as an impact sub. If you're Jebuson, you're thinking, this guy's starting over me. That's a joke. Like, I feel like automatically you're just going to think, like, what's going on? Obviously, we don't know what's going on behind the doors. Like, it could be anything. But I don't know if yesterday was sort of Bayo's last chance, and hopefully now we just see Jebuson starting, because I think he adds so much more. He's got the pace. He's got the I don't think he was in a position where he was like bullying the defenders, because I saw someone say that about him, about how he couldn't bully any of the defenders, which I just thought was absolutely rubbish. But, there was a lot of times where he was in good positions. He would have scored that goal if he was literally like a toe in front. He's clearly a lot faster than Bayo, and I thought every time the goalie had the ball, him and Vata did really well to press on the goalie and put them under some good pressure. So it's very hard to make a judgment about him. I'm not gonna sit here and say, yeah, he's our next like Lord Jesus Christ Savior, but he's not awful either. I think he just needs time, and I think he needs a full 90 for us to really see what he's about. But from what I saw yesterday, I was impressed. I wasn't disappointed.
No, and someone I heard, we were kind of joking where I sit yesterday, and I think someone said Bio must have something on the Pozos maybe, which is why he's starting every week. But I don't know, it's a weird one, and I as I said earlier on, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I would never say that no one can say what they feel, but I just think with Jefferson, I just really hope that Watford fans just give him a chance. Like, if in 15 games he's not scored and he's been absolute dog shite, then you know what? I'll sit here and say there's maybe a question for it. But for him not to have even played 90 minutes in a Watford shirt, you can't make a decision on someone. And like Mike said in the comments, not sure what my thoughts are on Jebo yet, not seen enough of him, but not exactly set the world alight when he has appeared. Arguably could have scored yesterday. Yeah, I mean, like I say, you can't really say anything other than that. I really hope and pray next week when it comes to the starting 11 at 11:30 next week, when they release the lineup, Cam, that Jefferson is given a start and we can actually see what he's like from the off, because he may be a completely different player from the off to what he is as an impact sub.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand all this. Like, what's he supposed to be doing off the bench? Like, it's as if, if he's not scoring 2 goals a game, you write him off. I just don't understand it. And it's the same people who are saying, oh, we should have kept Rajovic. I just don't get it. I don't know what people expect. I don't think people are being realistic at all. And I think some people are even choosing to ignore what they're seeing just because they've got an agenda, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. There were a few moments of Jefferson that I quite liked yesterday, one of which he picked up a loose ball in the box, and he was actually able to take maybe 5, 6, 7 touches with the ball in the box, shielding off his man, trying to get a shot away. And when he realised he couldn't get a shot away, he passed the ball off. Now, Bio picks up a loose ball in the box, it'll probably fall over. It's night and day between them. And
tell us what you think, Cam. Tell us what you think.
It is night and day between them, and I don't understand why some people are so keen to write him off already. It just doesn't make a shred of sense to me. Really like his pace. I think there were 1 or 2 times he did use his body well to hold off the defenders, and I'm just begging he starts at Norwich. Because I've got quite an early get up for that one, and I will definitely be turning around if I see that Bio is starting. So, yeah, that's my honest thoughts for you there, Ian.
I genuinely can't wait to see the group chat next week when the starting 11 comes out and Bio's in the team. Like Cam's having a meltdown.
Jefferson's on the bench with an illness. Or like not playing.
I think he'll start and he'll get injured immediately.
What?
That's what's going to happen.
Oh my god!
Yeah, please don't wish that. But yeah, just kind of touching on the subs yesterday. I know it's probably not really worth going really too much into Morris. He came on just as a replacement late on for Serie A, so it didn't really do much. But obviously there wasn't really much of a chance for him to do anything. It was just fresh legs. Katie, I thought Ken coming on for Larouci yesterday was probably needed, and it did kind of just settle things a little bit on that left-hand side. And Ken is that player that we know what we're going to get from him, don't we? He just settles things down, and he's good defensively, but he was also good putting a few balls in the box yesterday and going forward. Were you happy with what he did when he came on yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think when all the subs came on yesterday, that triple change really changed the game. I think that's the team that you should be looking at going forward. I mean, like you said, Ken is what you're going to get. You know he's going to come on. You know he's going to calm everything down. You know he's going to be able to put some more control back on our side. And I think Larouci, we've obviously spoken about him, and I think he has got a lot when he's attacking, and he built some great play yesterday. But when he defends, it's like, oh my god, you've not seen a football ever. Like, it was horrible to watch. I was like, every time it was him and I don't know what Coventry player was on that side, but you were thinking, yeah, we're going to concede because he just couldn't do it. And I was like, when Ken came on, it was a lot more composed, and I felt like we were in a better place.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously the other sub, Ebisele, the other side we kind of touched on, so we won't speak too much about him. But Vata was the other substitution made yesterday, as I kind of touched on yesterday. Earlier on, yesterday wasn't really it wasn't really the right point for him to come on. He came on because he needed to, and because of, I think there maybe being, the players were slightly concerned about Chadvikatsi, and the injury obviously took so long. When Vata did come on, the momentum that we had was completely sucked out of the game. So maybe the impact of Vata wasn't as much as what we'd have expected yesterday, Cam, don't you think?
No. Look, yeah, as you said, it's a tough period of the game for him to really get too involved. There were little bits I saw. There was a willingness to sort of get on the ball. Just couldn't quite get him in the dangerous positions that he likes to be in. He had a little bit of a threat in behind. He was sort of hanging on the last man a little bit, which I like to see. The benefit possibly of Georgie being injured is going to be the only time we really maybe get a run of Rocco Vata in his best position, because we all know that left number 10 role is nailed down as long as Georgie's available. So we aren't really going to see Rocco Vata there too much. So I imagine he'll start at Norwich, and I'm hoping that we really see the best of him there. Maybe get a 90 minutes under his belt. It could also be Bar playing there. But yeah, I am excited to see potentially 90 minutes of Rocco Vata next week. And yeah, the lad is dynamite, to be honest with you. I love everything we've seen from him so far. He's genuinely a really exciting player, and I don't know how we picked him up for so cheap, ahead of, no doubt, a queue of other clubs. So yeah, got to give fair play to the recruitment team on that one. But yeah, cannot wait to see more of him.
Yeah, he deserves it as well.
He does.
Like, he's clearly waiting his turn. You know, he's played in a couple games, and you know he deserves to have 90 minutes in the Championship.
Yeah, I agree. And
I think that first goal is right around the corner as well. He
every time he gets the ball, he looks like he's going to score.
Yeah, exactly. He can strike a ball like thunder. He missed a few, golden chances against Plymouth, but I don't think it's long before he gets his first Watford goal. Yeah,
and just touching, there's been quite a few comments coming while we've been chatting. I've not been ignoring them. Going back up, Matt said Bio, when he plays well yesterday, some of the time did look like he didn't want to be there. I'd want to see Jefferson more than Bio right now. Yeah, obviously we've said the same thing. I've got a feeling, Jester said, I've got a feeling Jefferson isn't going to be what we want for him. I hope he proves me wrong. I'll be at Norwich and Man City, so that'll be a chance to tuck away some goals for us. We shall see. My concern is actually just going back a little bit, is that Bio will start against Norwich and then Jefferson will start City. Jefferson's going to have a shocking game against Man City, and everyone's going to be like, oh, look, he's had 90 minutes against City and he's been crap. I'm like, you can't judge him against one of the best teams in Europe, against some of the best players in Europe. I mean, obviously...
I just had a really funny thought, right? Imagine watching Bio play against Man City. How crazy would that be? But then I had an even funnier thought, right? Imagine watching Ryan against Man City.
Oh, yeah, Jefferson. Yeah, Mike's right, actually.
He's cup ties.
Oh, so we are going to watch Bio against Man City.
That's a good point. I didn't even think he played.
So maybe Jefferson will play full 90 at Norwich.
He better,
because Bayo will be rested for City.
I'm going to both of those, and it's a lot of effort to watch 2 games of Bio. So if Bio is playing against Man City, I don't know what to say.
Dumbia could play against City, and Bio could start next week, and we might not see Jefferson again for a while.
He's leaving. He's off.
Or we just don't play Bio. That's my idea.
But just some other comments. Matt said, I feel that if we get a chance to see Jefferson a bit more, he can prove to the fans as that are judging him why he's been brought into the team. Jester said, love Ken Semmer and Vata need to play more minutes. I did say this yesterday that I really want to see Vata play more minutes. Matt said, for Vata to come after the injury must have been tough. He handled it well, pressed where he could. So yeah, and then what's Mike said at the bottom, bias one of the game when we went to Norwich 2 seasons ago. Cam, yeah, great, Mike.
Yeah, he tried his best not to though, didn't he?
I mean, yeah, it just, past tense, Mike. Sorry, mate.
Yeah,
that was back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. That was when we were struggling. We're on to bigger and better things. We're 4th in the league and going for promotion now. Joking, we're not going for promotion. It's been a good start.
No, we are. Let's say we are.
Yeah, and apparently we're gonna meet Man City. Don't worry, guys. Cup runs, Carabao Cup winners. Here we go.
Yeah, and just touching on that actually, just before we finish, how I'll ask both of you this. Katie first. Obviously, we've had 5 league games now. We're 4th in the league, 10 points. If someone had offered you that at the start of the season, would you be happy with that as to where we are and how we've started?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's been really good start to the season, I think, and even having this sort of unbeaten streak at home is nice, because last season we really, really struggled, and you should be winning at home a lot, and it's nice that we are because it gives something for the fans. I mean, I really noticed yesterday how busy it was actually, especially in the Rookery. Normally, everywhere where I sit, the seats are completely empty, and yesterday it was quite busy actually. And even in the concourse, I was like, "Wow, I've never seen this many people here for ages." So it was nice. Yeah, I think it's nice, and it's obviously good for the players. I mean, like Cam said, it was just about not losing yesterday after the Sheffield game, and I think we showed the right reaction, and I think. Yeah, it was good, and it's been good. I've enjoyed the start of this season, and obviously we don't want to get too carried away with ourselves, but it's much better than any other last couple of seasons we've had.
Yeah, and actually, it's just worth pointing out, and Cam, you may trip me up on this, but if I'm not mistaken, our last defeat at home was under Ishmael, which was Coventry at home, and since Tom's come in, we've actually not lost a game at Vicarage Road.
Really? I didn't know that.
The famous Dean Austin game.
Yeah, so it's actually fantastic that we're sitting here. That Tom's.
When was that Coventry game?
The end of February, wasn't it? Going into the early
February.
March.
Yeah, it was Feb, March-ish kind of.
Yeah, because
we haven't lost at home since then.
It was middle of March. It was middle of March.
Yeah, middle of March, because we had Birmingham, I think, on the 15th of March or somewhere around then. So yeah. So to come in and
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think people need to give Cleverley a bit more credit, because he did say that he wanted to make Vicarage Road a hard place to come and play football. And although Coventry did have the better of us yesterday in the first half an hour, Cam, overall, we do look tough to beat at home, don't we?
Yeah, his first game at home, I think it was start of April after an international break, and we had that 2-2 draw with Leeds that we very, very nearly won, and that was a really interesting game. Yeah, that was probably my favourite game of last season, I think.
That was a good game.
Yeah, really enjoyed that, especially, stopping Leeds getting promoted. So there's another positive. But yeah, we do look much better at home. I'll actually, on the topic of this, I'll share my prediction for the first 5 games with you. I said we'd get 1 point. We've managed to get 10 times that. So I'm very, very happy with that. I mean, I thought we'd roll over away at Millwall. I thought Stoke might come to town and do a number on us. and I thought Derby were going to be our big relegation rivals this season. It turns out, look at us in 4th and them in 8th, I believe. So shows how much I know. But I thought we'd get a point out of them, get battered away at Sheffield United, and Coventry do what they normally do. So to see such a change in the theme from the last few seasons, it's really encouraging. And you sort of, I used to go to football and think, anything could happen today. We could, we could be playing Man United, and I'd think we could beat these today. Then last few years we could be playing Rotherham, and I think we got no chance today. So it's such a good change, because now we're sort of going into every game, and I'm thinking we could win this today, and how good would that be? Because it is just such a good feeling to have that connection with the club back after such a just dull few years. So yeah, absolutely loving what Cleverley's doing, and especially at home.
Yeah. Can I say as well how good the atmosphere was yesterday?
Yeah.
It was so loud. Like I had my Apple Watch was giving me its loud notifications, like protect your ears. I never get that. Like even when we were still 1-0 down, that like 60, 70 before Georgie was injured, it was so loud. I was actually like, wow, I've never seen it like this. And you actually find that people are like invested in the game. Like normally when, like last season, if we went a goal down, I was like, yeah, well, it was inevitable, like, but now you see the fans and the players, they want to go for more, they want to try more, and the fans really got behind the team yesterday. It was really nice.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little side note as well. I didn't realise how much of a difference not having a PA system would make. It just seemed like a different place to me. Like subs weren't being announced. I had no idea Cov brought on Haji Wright. I completely missed that.
I didn't even know who we brought on.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
And
when Ken was on the pitch, I was like, when did Ken even come on? Like
no Z cars and no music at the end, and no stadium announcer. It was just really, really weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was weird.
I did kind of make the joke as well. I was like, it's all going to go wrong today because of not coming out to the cars. And I just thought the things are going to go for, and obviously conceding the goal early on, I was like, oh god. And then when Georgie missed that chance as well, it's just worth mentioning.
The open goal,
I was like, it's like the first 10, like the last 15 minutes have just been horrendous. But
the last time we didn't walk out to Z cars.
Yeah, it was the Southampton game when Shane Long.
So yeah, I'm still standing. We walked out. Yeah. Did we do that for every home game for the rest of that season?
No, I think it quickly changed after that, didn't it? Everyone was like, "What the hell are you doing, messing around with things? Like, just stick to."
Just leave it.
And then they do the Elton John bit before kickoff, where we just kind of finish off the song.
That's the reason we didn't get Europe, and from there we're now a middling championship team, all because we play Z cars.
I know, exactly. It's horrendous, isn't it? So whoever was in charge that night, I hope you got sacked.
Maybe not that harsh.
Just before we finish, there's actually just a couple of so just mentioning Matt's comment. I wasn't expecting a run like this at the start of the season, but going to take it. The team seems to now be playing for the manager, the shirt, and the fans, not just for their paycheck. I completely agree with that. The players are playing for Tom, so that's great to see. And just a couple of jokey things I'm just going to finish with, actually, because I think it's worth mentioning these funny moments. I don't know if you've seen all of the highlights yesterday, but that Derby open goal yesterday was absolutely superb. I mean, to have an open goal like that and just kind of, I don't even know what he did yesterday to do that. I think he kind of went to do it one foot, kicked it with the other foot, and it just trickled wide, and the fans behind the goal were absolutely livid. It was brilliant to see.
You know, that's the same bloke that scored that volley against us for Derby.
Yeah.
Like, how is he doing that and then missing that?
And then doing this? I know.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Look. And the pinball, obviously it was a bit of a balmy last 4 minutes in injury time yesterday in the Sheffield Wednesday game, obviously going 1-0 up.
Yeah.
The pinball for the equaliser was just absolutely hilarious.
That was a beautiful goal.
Yeah. Mike's just put, apparently he ran his absolute socks off and was very leggy, hence why he still missed. Still inexcusable.
Yeah.
You'd have put it away, wouldn't you, Mike? Mike would have buried it and put it in the top corner, wouldn't you? But yeah, thanks ever so much, everyone, for tuning in this evening. Obviously, it's been a great chat. I think just we don't always win, we don't always lose, and when it's a draw, it's still good to dissect and go for everything. So I think it's been a great chat this evening. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you obviously haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. When we do go live, you'll get a notification each time. And obviously, if you've liked it, please do hit the like button. And yeah, if you've got any further comments, do put them in. And when we do our next pod, we can obviously bring them up and mention those. And it's just worth mentioning, I don't know, I've not seen much about a Norwich review. I'm sure there probably will be something of some sort. Do you think, Cam?
Yeah, I imagine there will be, but let's leave that to someone less lazy than me to sort out.
Mike lazier than you? Surely not. But yeah, Wednesday, Mike's just put in Tuesday or Wednesday review preview. I'm hoping. And we will also be back next weekend, obviously, to discuss the game once it's happened, and hopefully it'll be 3 points. Mike and Cam, have a great time next week at the game, because I know you're both going. And yeah, thanks ever so much again, everyone, and have a great rest of your evening. Come on, you Horns.